I've had some sleepless nights and I'm a bit nervous talking about this, but it's time for me to address a really hot topic that's been going on and it has been on my mind, and that's generative AI. But before I continue, I want to say that the opinions I hold are my own, and no other companies or people associated with me necessarily share the same opinion. That's up to them, not to me. I want to talk about this because I recently did an update to my game School of Magic, which included a bunch of generative AI features. And I'm expecting this update to be a little bit controversial, so I wanted to come out and tell people how I feel about it, and then maybe we can have a civil discussion about this. With that out of the way, I want to start with the fear that people will lose jobs. I think that's a really common point, and I don't think this is a good idea overall. We will run into a future where a lot of automation will take our jobs away, and I don't think the solution is to preserve jobs for the sake of the job itself. I think what we need to do is we as a society need to change so that people no longer have to work at some point. It will probably take some time, and in the meantime, we obviously cannot keep it like this. So, my solution will include a way to pay content creators like artists and writers. Um, in the meantime, I just wanted to get it out of the way that I don't think it's a good way to argue that people will lose their jobs. We can still talk about how they will live and how everything interacts with each other, but I think overall, as an argument, it's not that great. And with that down out of the way, I guess let's quickly talk about something positive, like why actually do we want AI, right? And I think what it will do is it will enable small companies like me, like one-man studios or even a little bit bigger, to increase their quality bar to a bare minimum, basically. So basically, the minimum quality will increase, which is good for consumers and also for people who create stuff, because I'm really happy that I can create now a game that is way more polished than I ever imagined. And I think that is a really positive thing. It's also, like, if we look a little bit further down the line, possible to have more personalized content for everyone, which is also a great thing, I think, especially if it comes to just entertainment, where we don't run into the same issues with filter bubble stuff. Now let's get to the big point that people have, which is usually the scraping of the data, which is obviously a huge problem right now. And AI companies themselves will also need to face this at some point, because if they kill off all the content creators, they will also die. So it doesn't make any sense how it works right now. AI companies should be behind changing it as well, so that it's sensible. And I think content creators should also think of a good solution and not just forbidding it. Because if you forbid it, the only thing that really will happen is that the big companies like Google, um, Amazon will probably win the AI war, because they can pay like some really cheap content creators to do the stuff for them, like with the bare minimum of quality, basically. So what that means is that the quality of the AI will obviously go down, but also the artists will not really benefit from that at all, because then we just get a little bit worse of quality, so the minimum quality is a little bit lower, but still there will be a lot of people who lose their jobs. And I can give you an example for that. Like, look at Adobe Firefly. I think it's good enough for what it does. I'm using it because I think it's the right thing to try to support this. I will go later into it, like support ethical sourced AI and other content. But I think it's good enough. So once it gets to the point where it's good enough, like, artists will not benefit if they are not paid, or if it's just blocked. So I don't think it's a good idea to just forbid it in general. I will go over this all with my solution again, but before I go to the solution, I want to talk about how I'm currently handling this, which I already shortly addressed before. And this is basically how I'm handling it with every other category in my life as well. I will usually try to use the best ethical source products that I can buy or to get them, and support people who do stuff like this. But I usually do not exclude companies from using it if I can't find it easy enough. And the reason is that I just can't fight all these fights, right? So I just don't have the energy to fight all the fights. And also, you have to know that my my own behavior will not really change the outcome of any of it. This is more because I think it's ethically correct to do so, and it's not really to change the society, right? That is the reason why someone should do it. To change society, which I think is the way more important thing to do, is you need to support the people and vote for them that have the power to change it. And I think that is the way forward, and not using these systems. As I said, this depends on how much important I think, or how important I think it is to not use them, and how ethically or morally wrong it is to use them. And on the artist issues, I think it's bad, but it's not as bad as kids starving in Africa, right? I mean, or that like people getting poisoned from companies, right? Which is stuff that already happens, and I try to avoid this stuff, right? But I just want to give a context, right? So I think, yes, it's bad. It's not as bad as this. So I don't go out of my way to try to not use these systems. I still do. If I find a good solution, I will always try to do it. Which is easy enough, which in the case of Adobe Firefly it was, so I used it. So I think that makes my stance on that clear, and you can obviously disagree on this. And if you do, you can let me know in the comments, I guess, right? So finally, let's get to the solution I have in mind. And my suggestion is some form of compulsory licensing system. What that means is that I don't want to block AIs or from content that content creators do at all. Instead, when they use it, I want them to pay the content creator for it, and the content creator will no longer have a say in if it's used or not. And I already said why I think that it's good, because I think that this way smaller companies can also prevail, and not only the big ones. Artists should getting paid with this, so I think it's overall a positive system. Now the only question is how to actually do it. Like what are the details? I have some things in mind. I obviously don't have the perfect solution, right? I'm not like an expert on this issue. This is just the thoughts that I have. You can probably pick holes in it, and I encourage you to do so. But I think we should have this discussion rather than just blocking the thing. Like, I think it's important to have this discussion because this will help get us to a better place. And blocking, I don't think, will get us to the point that we all want, with where artists and, for me, also AI can survive. And maybe for you, it's only the artists. Okay. Yeah, okay. So how I imagining this could happen is that it's not while training the data, because if you do it while training the data, then you still run into the issue that big companies can only pay for it, right? Because if you have to pay upfront, it's really hard for them to do. So my suggestion would be to do it only while using the data. So basically, if a user enters a prompt, this should be analyzed and see if, like, let's say an artist's name is in there, maybe his style is referenced, something like that. Like, obviously, I don't know the exact details, but that's how I imagine it. And then at this point, the artists would get paid. What it means is that small companies can still train their data, just as it always has been. Then once they get big, they need to pay up. Or like even if they get small, they get pay up, but it's just very little money. But they don't. The burden is not at the beginning; it's at the end, like when people are actually using it. As I said before, if we don't have any system in place, these companies will kill each other. So the companies and the artists will kill each other, which is not a really good solution at all. And I really hope that we can find a good solution for everyone involved in this, because I really want to live in a world where I, as a dad, can have a high quality kids book for my kid that is written from a writer, and also have like a tailor-made book I made for him with a specific story to him, with not the same amount of quality, but a similar amount or a lower amount of quality, and without me having to spend countless amounts of hours. So I hope that makes my stance clear. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think about this. Have a nice day and bye.